Okay, we've almost brought this episode home here. Okay, so number 6, our industry is rife with this attitude, and it is so self-defeating. We are shooting ourselves in the foot every single time we say or do anything that it has to do with number 6, and that's this: describing information security or cybersecurity as an absolute must-have, must-do, at all costs function for a company. Which is to say, like, hey, if we don't secure everything, then, well, those leaders are a bunch of idiots. Contempt. And then, by the way, a corollary to this is making it sound like cybersecurity is all technical, that there's no people stuff involved here, right? It's all about dialing the knobs, getting the bits exactly correct, and anybody who gets in the way is an idiot. I hate that attitude. It's so self-defeating. Jason, you've seen that before, haven't you?
Yeah, and I think this is interesting because when you just made that statement, you made the statement of describing cybersecurity as an absolute must-have, must-do at all costs business function in an organization, right? And you talked about it being a business thing. Well, my experience for the last 20 years was not in a for-profit business environment. I worked in the government sector, right? We're not in the business to make money. That's not our goal. Right. And so for us, it was a completely different mindset. And I had to struggle a lot of times with people where they tried to bring in this, we must do this at all cost mentality inside of this profit-making machine called the government. And one of the things is that, when we would bring up a concept like, you need to make sure you have a good ROI on this investment. They're like, well, we don't make any money, so it's not an ROI. And I'm like, well, no, that's not true. There is a business case to be made inside of this, right? Because let's say I have a budget of, I don't know, $1 billion a year, right? Which some of the places in the government spend $1 billion a year on cybersecurity. What are you getting back for that $1 billion? And if it's not something worthwhile, then you probably shouldn't be spending the money on it. And so we had to go through and start making the business case inside of the government of why we needed this new server, this new tool set, these new people, whatever those things were, and say, this is the return on value we're going to get. We're going to be this much more secure. We're going to have this many less hacks. And it wasn't just about profit in that case, but really it does come into whether you're in a nonprofit organization, whether you're in the government, whether you're in a business, it does come down to a return on investment. And so you have to describe cybersecurity as a business issue. And I know you spend a lot of your day, especially using the NIST cybersecurity framework, to explain this to your customers of how cybersecurity is a business issue.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So like a big part of our work is helping people understand that there is business value in cybersecurity spend, right? Because there's a lot of confusion about this. A lot of people are like, well, I just want to do like a straight ROI calculation to prove that I'm going to get, X% of internal return on, on this money that we're going to spend on a password manager or whatever. And I have to say, like, no, first of all, you're never going to be able to pencil this in a traditional business case way. So there's other ways to do it though, right? And so I do spend a lot of my time explaining about our business value framework and all the different dimensions. We've got a 4-dimension model. I'm not going to unpack it here, but yeah, I spend a lot of time explaining to people what is the value of cybersecurity. And I can tell you that when I was on F-22, right, I was at the system program office for F-22, and I remember being told all these crazy stories about people who spent money on security like they were, pardon the pun here, Jason, drunken sailors.
I really don't like that term because I hear people talk about Congress spending like drunken sailors. And the problem is drunken sailors stop drinking when they run out of money. Congress and the government, on the other hand, they don't. They just keep printing more and buying more. So, drunken sailors don't drink that much. I'm sorry.
That's a great point.
Anyway, you go on.
No. It's thank you. That's excellent. So, but look, if you're in the government, it's taxpayer money. Okay, don't spend my taxpayer money, foolishly and with no justification. And if you're in a for-profit organization, this is going to get you bounced, and you'll be perceived as completely incredible if you have this attitude of we have to do security at all costs, and that damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. Another naval saying there, I guess. But look. In business, in the private sector, there are huge risks that organizations are facing, right? Like product market fit, especially in a small company, right? Am I selling something that people want, and can I sell it for a price that will create enough profit that that we can keep going, that we can meet payroll, and we can pay our bills. And there's no way that a senior decision maker who's worried about product market fit is going to have a good reaction to you coming around saying, oh my God, we need a security information and event monitor, and I don't care how much it costs, $100,000, whatever. Like, we can't live without it. Like, everything, the sky's falling if we don't have this thing. Or another cardinal sin, in my view, is saying, oh, we have to, we have to deploy two-factor authentication, and we need to train everybody on PGP because we need to encrypt our email. What? You expect customer service agents to figure out how to use PGP and still get their job done? You are on another planet. So there you go. Be careful.
Yeah, exactly, right. And one of the things I think that has really made me successful in my career, even in the government sector, is I could speak the language of the executives, and I could sell them what I needed to do in terms that they could understand. And on the business side, it's the same thing, right? You need to take the time to learn the language of the C-suite. And when we talk about the C-suite, we're talking about the CEOs, the COOs, the CTOs, because they are really focused on what is that budget? What is it going to cost me? What's my return? What am I saving? And all those type of things, right? It's very rare that you're going to find an executive or senior officer, if you're in the government side or the military, who is going to bother learning cyber speak. And so you need to be able to translate things from your technical mind into languages that they understand. And this is one of the things that I see that some people who are really successful and a lot of the really good IT and cybersecurity master's degree programs are actually very similar to a lot of the MBA programs. And the reason is, at that level, you need to start learning how to speak executive and be able to run the numbers and run the accounting and the actuarials and the return on investments and the future cost of the money you're spending today and what it would have been worth in 5 years if we invested it in something else. And because if I'm spending $100,000 on that new doohickey that keeps selling me, well, that's $100,000 that I can't put into hiring another employee who can be a salesman that might generate $500,000 a year in sales. And so it is an either or. Money is finite, and we have to figure out what we're going to do. So when it comes down to it, during the interview, you really need to make sure that you're thinking about these things and show that you can communicate at this higher level if you want to have a long-term employment at that company.